Our next speaker is our own Megan Arendt. She is the Associate Director of Communications here at ASH. Megan, it's all yours.
Awesome. Thank you, Chris. So I will be talking about effective earned media strategies. So what to do with everything that was just presented. Next slide. These are the overarching elements of a communications campaign under what's called the peso model. It's an acronym for each of the categories that you see on the slide. It's a lot to look at right now, I know, but I'm sharing it because I'm positive the tobacco industry is using every part of it. So our community needs to do so as well. Today, we will dive into the work that leads to the earned media results and share some of ASH's owned media that you can reuse and get traction across your own shared media, as well as then getting that earned media. And just to note, like people have said, you'll get these slides after today. So I definitely recommend coming back to this slide and just reading through all the different parts and thinking through if you are doing something in each of those categories. Next slide. So starting with what we have, ASH has reports, graphics, and videos ready-made for you to use in your state and local work. CTFK and Truth also just shared their owned media assets that you can use as well. So there's a lot of resources that already exist. Today, we're all talking about shining a light on tobacco industry interference in lawmaking because we've seen data that shows that when you talk about it and you do shine that light on their interference, it's one of the most effective ways to combat it. The tobacco industry is hoping that their work goes unnoticed. So it's up to us to note it and tell other people about it. Many lawmakers really don't know that tobacco industry is trying to influence or still is influencing a lot of our public health laws. So it's up to us to educate them and our fellow citizens on that interference. And ASH's Interference Index is an annual report that we do. And so we're talking through the data and examples provided by state and local advocates like yourselves. And so the link is on the previous slide. And so I'd encourage you all to read and use that tool. Along with the release of that report in December, we made a lot of content for you to use across different channels. So on this slide, you're seeing the social media graphics that we made for you all to use. These are, we made one social media graphic for each of the examples that the state and local advocates provided to us, which is a little bit of a plug to send us your examples as well as sending them to CTFK so that we can make graphics for you guys to help promote what's happening, not in a positive way, obviously, but to shine a light on it to try and combat it. These are graphics that you can use on social media, on your website, or even when you're doing a media pitch. Next slide. So here we go. So all of the graphics that were on the previous slide, along with the report, are available for download at that slide, or at the link on the slide right there. And then in addition to that, we have the videos on the left-hand side. Those are available on ASH.org USA, which is our YouTube channel, but we've also included the raw video files in that link that you're seeing on the right-hand side. So you'll see the social media content and in that Dropbox link, as well as the raw footage, so that if you want to make your own videos to produce with your own logo, to share either with your local media or on social media, you can. The content already exists. One of the videos is actually an interview with Barbara, who you already heard present from CTFK. So we have a lot of resources ready for you guys to use on whichever platform you're most interested in. It's important to also just note that a lot of media outlets prefer if you can share a multimedia element with them when you're pitching them. So sharing a graphic or a video is really useful. So if you don't have the resources to create those yourselves, our goal is to help you already be able to find something. Next slide, please. Or if you'd like, you can make your own earned content. I can't more highly recommend Canva. This is the website that we use. It's a free service. They give you templates, and so you would just sort of edit in your own information They tell you the dimensions of every single platform that you could need. And they also have some free photos and elements that you can use. Our entire index and all those graphics that you just saw, all the way down to the YouTube video covers, were all designed in Canva, not by a professional graphic designer. So I'd encourage you to give it a try and strengthen your earned media production. Next slide, please. So once you have the content to share, you need a strategy to do it. We won't really dive in a ton onto the strategies of every single platform right now, but the main ones Ash uses are Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube. So we'd encourage you to share your message on as many platforms as you can to earn more traction. And then again, we gave you sample social media posts in that Dropbox link. In addition to the graphics, we gave you like the actual text as well that you could use. Next slide. So if you remember that initial peso graphic at the beginning, paid media was also an element. Again, we're not diving into that today because it requires a larger budget and more time to discuss. So we'll focus more on earned media for the rest of my presentation. You may have already seen this quote from Malcolm X on the role of media, but it demonstrates why as advocates, we must harness the power of the media to convey our message. So on the slide, Malcolm X says, the media is the most powerful entity on earth. They have the power to make the innocent guilty and to make the guilty innocent. And that's power, because they control the minds of the masses. So clearly the tobacco companies would like the media to miscategorize them as innocent bystanders, which means it's our job to ensure tobacco companies are accurately portrayed as the perpetrators of a global epidemic every single day. Next slide, please. Press releases are likely one of the first things that you think about to garner media attention. On the slide, you can see an 8-part standard release from CoSchedule. This is just to give you the basics if you haven't done a press release before. A few tips from me personally. Their number 4 recommends opening with a bullet point, and I usually put that after our intro paragraph, which they've labeled number 5. I've seen a lot of other organizations maybe put them at the bottom or halfway through, so feel free to play around with that. You don't have to follow this exactly, but it tells you the different parts. So you should at least be including all of those parts in your press release, specifically contact information, and then at the end, that final boilerplate text that describes your organization, make sure you have that. And aside from formatting, it's also key to have a piece of new information to share, something that's truly newsworthy to more than just your organization. So survey results are great to share. Reports are also a great one to share. You've heard all of us present all of those for you today, so you can definitely talk about those. And we hope that some of those local examples will also speak to your local community. A lot of times talking about being highlighted or your community being mentioned in a report is newsworthy in your local community. So we would encourage you to do that. And again, you can, on the slide, it talks through where you can promote your press release. And so don't just send it out to media. You should also post it on your website, post it on your social media, send it in personal emails to local reporters who cover health, public policy, or business. And then if you have a database of supporters, email it out to them. And then if you have the budget, you can do a paid wire service. We'd also encourage you to do press events. We've held press conferences, both in person and virtually, actually getting more substantive attendance by reporters on our virtual events. And that was even before COVID, likely because reporters are really busy and it's easier for them to hop on a call or a Zoom with no added travel time. Our last press conference we held virtually with guests from California, DC, New York, and Spain. So just think if we had been hosting that in person, it would have cost a lot more money with travel, or we would have had to cut back on some of the speakers. So I definitely encourage you to try hosting a virtual press event. Again, only if you have breaking news to share though. On the logistics that I have on that slide, my initial email invitations I sent to reporters and required them to reply to me to personally register, which gives me control over who's attending. It gives me the chance to not let a tobacco representative get the login. And then it also shows me who I want to personally follow up with after that call to see if they need any information to build a story and just see what I can do to help. Also, if you broadcast your Zoom conference to YouTube, like we do for these webinars, you'll have that immediate link ready to share with reporters who missed the live conference, giving you space to get more attention with it. YouTube also gives you a feature where you can embed your YouTube link or video on your website and then also share it on social media. So get the most use out of what content you have. Next slide, please. So letters to the editor are also really important, and I'm sure a bunch of you have tried submitting them before. Just some tips that we have is that a letter to the editor needs to be a response to something already published in that specific paper. Don't reply to the New York Times about something you saw in the Washington Post. If it was a New York Times article, that's what you're replying to. That's what a letter to the editor includes. And so you only have 100 words for a letter to the editor. Definitely no more than 150. It's intended to be short, and you only have 2 days from the day it was published to submit your response and have it be seriously considered. So act fast if you see an article that you do want to respond to. Next slide. So next is op-eds. This is a challenging one for a lot of people, and it's a space I'd recommend trying to get into when you're able to. And so these are 8 key points that I'm going to talk through with you all. Come back to this slide when you have time, but save all 8. Don't do only one. It's an inclusive list, not just pick one. So for the first one, make sure you have a single topic to cover and a clear point. And have facts and data ready to support that point. Keybridge Communications says, if your piece doesn't tempt 1/4 of the population reading it to reply to the paper to disagree with you, then you don't have an op-ed. So that's a good barometer of whether or not you have that single topic that's compelling and going to motivate a lot of people to be upset with you and disagree. Second, an op-ed formatting is different from academic writing. You use very short paragraphs that are only 4 to 5 lines maximum. So if you're used to academic writing, think differently in this case. Number 3, ideally your submission would be 550 words maximum, definitely no more than 750 words though. Number 4, don't submit to the newspaper until you have an attention-grabbing headline to attach to it, because you're first pitching the editor, and so you need to catch the editor's attention first and foremost with that one email. Number 5, many editors may only read your opening paragraph, so make it count. Think of a news hook or something really important going on right now, or a compelling story. But again, you have that 4 to 5 lines. So start as strong as possible. Number 6, pitch the news outlet that is right for your goals. That doesn't mean the paper needs to agree with you though. Remember that first point of tempting people to disagree with you? So I'm really just saying is pitch as local as you can, because it'll be more relevant to that audience. Everyone pitches to the New York Times and Washington Post. So your odds will go up if you're pitching to a local paper about something happening in your community. And then especially with that strong hook, showing them how it relates. Number 7, the email message asking an editor to read your op-ed is just as important as the op-ed itself. A lot of times the submission process, you would paste the op-ed into the body of your email if you haven't done one previously. So a lot of people, that email message at the top is a last minute, check this out. Don't do that. You should really use all of your best information in that pitch email, because again, it's even shorter. If they're only going to read the first sort of 4 lines in your headline, your email body is the crucial thing. It's where you can spoil the ending. You can repeat anything that's coming, because the pitch email is not going to be published. So that's your chance to share a lot of really, really exciting information. The author of the op-ed can also personally submit it if you know them well enough, briefly stating their credentials as well. And that can sometimes give you a slight leg up. It's not required because I know a lot of times we're trying to get someone else to do an op-ed on behalf of us. So if you're not able to have them personally submit it, that's fine as well. Just an option. And then 8, follow up the next day. A lot of papers say that they need 3 or so days, but if your topic is entirely newsworthy and it's really about the news cycle right now, you want to be pitching a new outlet already the next day. So follow up, you can pick up the phone and give them a call. If you're concerned that they're still going to come back to you because you think it's that good of an op-ed, just send them an email the next day saying, I'm moving on to the next outlet, so that they know it's no longer exclusive to them. Next slide, please. And then blogs. You can always publish your content as a blog on your website if it's not picked up. If you wrote maybe an LTE or an op-ed that we just talked about and it doesn't get picked up, reuse that content somewhere else. Put it as a blog on your website, take a few points of it and put it on social media. But I also wouldn't be doing my job at ASH if I didn't point out that we have guest blog opportunities at ASH. So maybe that great op-ed or LTE wasn't picked up in your area and you want to email it to us and see if we'd like to publish it, please do. We love using our blog, newsfeed, and social media to highlight the great work of our shared community. So if you'd like to write something for us to publish or have a big news win that you want us to share across ASH's social media, please do email me and we'll see what we can do. And my contact is on the next slide for you. Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Great. Thank you, Megan.